This is K.M. Weiland, and you're listening to the 162nd episode of the Wordplay Podcast. I finished polishing up the first draft of the Outlining Your Novel workshop and sent it off to the folks at Writer's Digest University. While I'm waiting for any editorial directions from them, I now have the time in my schedule to get back to my historical fantasy Storming. Before I had to take a break to work on the workshop, I had just finished up the character sketches. I've spent this week translating my scribble-dee-doos, or trying to at any rate, and transcribing them into their Word doc. It's been about a month since I wrote these character sketches, so it's been fun to revisit what I wrote. I can tell these characters, a grease monkey from a lost city in the sky, and a barnstorming pilot, among others, are going to be a ton of fun to work with. I can't wait to get started on the actual outline. Can you define your character in one word? The latest post in the video series on my blog encourages writers to take advantage of the limitations of fictional characters in a way that will cement them in readers' memories. To watch it, visit my blog at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com. New videos are posted every Wednesday. And now, I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. Add muscle to your fiction with unity and contrast. The painting technique known as chiaroscuro, which, in the words of Lemony Snicket, is a big word meaning, quite literally, light-dark, makes full use of the contrast between light and dark to pull details into sharper focus. We see the world in shades of light and dark. Without one or the other, details fade into invisibility. Our fiction is no different. Depending on your intent in any given scene, you can apply unity and contrast to beef up your prose, pack muscle onto your descriptions, and add weight to your subtext. Let's take a look at the finer points of each, along with tips for choosing which is appropriate for the effect you're trying to achieve. So, there you are, writing a scene about King Chiaro of Planet Skuro, only he's not so kingly anymore. His good buddy and right-hand man staged an et tu kind of a coup, threw old Chiaro right out of his palace, and is now hunting him like a dog. Nowadays, our noble but understandably glum king is hiding in alleys and eating out of dumpsters. You could employ any number of techniques to describe poor Chiaro's plight, one of which is unity of effect. Since you want readers to understand how destitute, downtrodden, and depressed Chiaro is, you can use description to highlight the grungy details of his plight. The alley is slimy and stinky. The food in the dumpsters is rat-eaten and moldy. The rain from the latest thunderstorm is so polluted it's eating holes through the burlap sack he's wearing instead of a shirt. You could take this further yet and highlight unity of effect in metaphor. Maybe Chiaro huddles next to a rundown building and stares at the cloud-clogged sky, feeling as if the sun has betrayed him just as surely as his old buddy Brutus. Or maybe you'd like to drive the point home further yet through character interaction. Chiaro stumbles into the aftermath of a backstreet gang war just as one of the gang leaders is ruthlessly deposed. The parallels only strengthen the effect of Chiaro's recent misadventures. But these aren't your only choices. You can also use contrasting details to amplify Chiaro's desperate physical and emotional dilemma. Sometimes contrast can actually provide the stronger effect, since the very act of comparison allows readers to see things in perspective. For example, you could use contrast in your description by showing our ragged, louse-infested monarch staggering through the gold-plated streets in front of his former palace. Where once he proudly rode along in his royal rickshaw, he now leaves muddy footprints on the polished cobblestones. Sweet-smiling princesses fail to recognize him and instead turn up their pretty noses at his stink. And the sharp mountain air he's always taken for granted now makes him dread the smog of the city's underbelly. Your contrasting metaphors can bite with their pungent dichotomy. The shining sun, beautiful and serene, mocks his misery as it continues to bring joy to his city, as if his fall was of no importance. You can find even more interesting fodder for contrast when you return him to the underbelly and his interaction with the other street rat characters. When he tells them who he really is, they laugh in his face. They bow and scrape and call him your most royal majesty, as if it's an epithet. Suddenly, through a judicious choice of unifying and contrasting details, you've added some real muscle to your scene. This is no skinny runt of a story anymore. Now it's the gold medal winner in the bodybuilding division. If you can keep these two simple techniques in mind as you write your story, its resonance will hit readers right where it counts, in the heart. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, visit me on the web at wordplay-kmwyland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.